Good day, everyone. Terilee Harrison here with another edition of Terilee Talks, and I am delighted to introduce you to my business consultant, trainer friend, Brian Wozniak. Brian is with me today, and it's great to have you here, Brian.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Terilee.
We were just reminiscing. We're both in Texas now, but we both grew up in the Midwest, in like Michigan and Ohio. So talking a little bit about the Midwest. So I bet we have other people that can recall that and think about that where they grew up as well. I'm sure, right?
That's right.
So let me introduce Brian, guys. I know that you're going to love to hear what he has to say. Originally from Michigan, Brian Wozniak now resides in North Texas. He's married with a teenage son. He has 20 plus years experience in the disciplines of business consulting and training, with a particular focus on these things: continuous improvement, project management, leadership coaching, and sales training. He works with clients to help improve on both sides of the balance sheet, to improve revenue by increasing sales and decrease costs through expense reduction initiatives. Brian, this is all so important, and we want to have both of the sides of the balance sheet to be improved, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine that it's certainly of the business owners and the practitioners that I've worked with, increasing sales is always of paramount importance. Everyone wants to increase sales, but there's always some focus on decreasing expenses. So we're seeing, clients want to engage in both aspects for sure.
For sure. I love what we're going to talk about every day, everyone. And I know as business owners that this is of interest to you. So we're going to be talking about performance improvement ideas and how to incrementally increase your results. So Brian has 3 strategies, 3 tips for you. And the first one is, Brian, let's talk about the pattern of breakthrough.
Yes, the pattern of breakthrough. So in my tips today, the focus is going to be a bit more on the sales side as opposed to some of the other aspects that we talked about in terms of leadership coaching and all that. This is going to be more of the sales aspect. So pattern of breakthrough. So a lot of us, the way that we learn, the way we develop, the way we grow has a tendency to be incrementally or gradually over time. So there's a tendency for us to read something, hear something, learn something, and we may need to hear it a different ways a number of times before it finally clicks. And then we have a breakthrough. So that's where we have the pattern of breakthrough. And I'll give you an example. This was me. So I was going through a number of trainings and coaching sessions where there was a strong emphasis on developing referral networks. And it resonated with me. I loved the idea, but I didn't do anything about it for a number of months. Part of it was due to I was busy working on other priorities. Part of it was due to I wasn't exactly sure, what was going to be my best way to leverage referrals and what that would look like for me in my work. Yeah, I had some referrals coming in, but I really wasn't necessarily capitalizing on it. And then after hearing the message a number of different times in a number of different ways and looking at different strategies, there was one that was presented to me that really rang true, and it clicked. There was my breakthrough. So I was learning. I was hearing, I was developing, I was looking for ideas and strategies and whatnot. And finally something gave. And so that ended up being where I work with, where I hire as contractors. Not hire, maybe it's not the right word. Maybe I partner with sales folks or people or consultants that are looking to improve their ability to make money by doing something on the side. And so this is where kind of like the sales aspect of what I do and the expense reduction aspect of what I do kind of converge, where I'll find partners that I'll work with, and they will provide referrals to me, and then I'm able to provide them with compensation. And the compensation usually, in many cases, is a residual. It's a monthly residual compensation. And so that works really well for those that have like a network, and this is more B2B type of relationship. So if anyone is interested in learning more about that, I would be happy to talk to them about it. But the main point is it was a breakthrough for me because and that's the way a lot of us learn is that and grow and develop is that we hear things, we look at things, we investigate, and pretty soon something happens, boom, and so so the pattern of breakthrough, I think, is very, very powerful. And
it is powerful, and I think we can all relate. I think that many of us, it's like I hear it, I learn it, I see it, and all of a sudden, boom, there it is. And so we can relate. And I appreciated hearing about how you work through the referrals in your business and how that works too. So talk to us about the number 2, because I think without the number 2, we might not follow through on anything from the breakthrough. So talk to us about the power of mindset.
Yes, the power of mindset. So in order, like kind of how we see ourselves, kind of how we view what we're doing, or how we view or see maybe the business activities that we're involved in, dictate what our performance is going to be many, many times. And many times it happens, it'll tend to hold us back. So if we view ourselves as maybe not good enough, not maybe not being capable enough, maybe we're missing something, that tends to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then we won't perform well. And I'll give you an example. I'm going to take my son. So I have a 16-year-old son. He's a golfer. In fact, he's golfing right now. He's in a tournament, and I'm able to follow him so I can see how he's doing. Now I'll kind of tell you a little bit of story about him. So he was playing in a golf tournament, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. It was a 2-day tournament. The first day of the tournament, it was really bad weather. It was rainy and wet and whatnot. And he shot like 10, 11, 12 shots over his normal average. Just had a really bad round. The next day, he shot right around just a little bit below his average. And the conditions were a little bit worse. In fact, it was more rain, more wet, more cold, and yet he shot better. Something that I noticed before he started round 2 or day 2 is that he was walking around the tee box with a swagger. You could see he had confidence. And then he goes out, and that day he played a really good round. Now, I think what was happening is that he spoke to some of the other players he was going to be playing against. I think he kind of realized, hey, I think I'm a little bit better than what they are. And that boosted his confidence. And he went out and he performed better. And talking to him afterwards, that's pretty much what happened. On day 1, he was intimidated. His mindset was, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I can perform. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. All these other kids I'm playing with are either better than me, or maybe they're better than me. He didn't really know. He didn't even know any of the kids. But in his mindset, he was doubting himself in day 1 and didn't shoot well. On day 2, he realized that these kids he was playing against that, actually, I know I can shoot better than them because I normally do, shoot better than what they scored yesterday because all the kids scored around the same the day before. And so, but that whole mindset change improved his performance. He had knowledge, he had the capabilities, he put in the practice, he could do all the things. He was holding himself back from a mental standpoint. And so and this happens to all of us every day. We could be doing something, and if we're doubting ourselves, then that can pour over into what we're doing. It will affect our body language. It will affect how we're going to be doing things in our everyday activities, in our business, and our work. So how we view ourselves is very, very important. You can view yourself as I'm not very good. You won't perform well. Or you could change that language and say, I am good, or I am better, or I am the best, or I am a master at something. When you start bringing that language into it, that's going to boost your confidence. It's going to boost your mental capability. That doesn't mean you're going to knock it out of the park every time, but it's going to set yourself up to perform better if you're viewing yourselves in a more positive light.
That's so good. And I love the story about your son. We wish your son the best in his tournament today and all the things that he does. It's so true. We can show up in business and and we could meet people and think, hey, these people are my peers, right? These other teachers, these other trainers are my peers. Or we can be like, oh, I'm not as good as them, right? And so how we show up is everything. So, and I do think that your mindset, it doesn't do any good to break through if your mindset's not there, right? Because you're just going to go back to the same old thing. So I'm very curious and want to hear more about the compounding effect, your third tip.
Compounding
This
effect.
sounds very interesting.
Yeah, this is kind of intriguing. So what I mean by the compounding effect is where you're harnessing the power of small everyday choices and wins that will improve or compound over time. So I'll give you an example. So I went to school at Michigan State University. So I follow the athletics that happen there, the football team, the basketball team. I'm a big fan. So there was a football coach at Michigan State that took over the program when the program was not doing very well. So he was brought in, new head football coach. Try to turn the program around. One of his staples in that program was that he challenged his coaches, the players, everyone that was involved in the program, that I want you to focus on being 1% better every day. 1%. That's it. That you got to put forth the effort, you got to put time into it, and that's my expectation. So if and something that happened to that program it wasn't just by, there was other things factoring, but that was a big tenet of that program, was that while everyone was looking to pour into getting 1% better every day, over the course of about 13, 14, 15 years, I forgot how long he was with the program, he became the winningest coach in Michigan State football history. And there's some pretty good ones that happened in the past that won national championships back in the 40s and 50s. But he became the winningest. And one of his main tenets was that I want you to get 1% better. Now, what happens when you get 1% better every day? So if you're operating, let's say at 100% and you get 1% better, now you're, 101%, let's say. After day 2, you're 102%. Now, but if your 1% changes, because when you go from 100 to 101, that 1% the next day is actually a little bit bigger. So if you're doing 1% every day, theoretically, you're going to be getting a little bit better, every day. So, so like, for example, after one day, it's 1% better. After 30 days, you're actually theoretically 35% better, because you have that compounding effect, because compounding a little bit, every day. By 90 days, you're actually over 200%. In fact, you would be 245% roughly from where you started. So over from day 1 to day 90, theoretically, 1% improvement, you could, double, 2.5 times what you were previously over the course of the year. Then, of course, you can see it gets really big. It's like 3,000 and something percent. So, but by the compounding effect is by, if you focus on getting a little bit better every day, 1%, that theoretically you can do more than just get, than just get 100% better. You actually could get 200, 300% better just by getting a little bit better every day. And that's something that I think is achievable by just about anyone. Sometimes you have some bad days, you take a vacation, take a day off. Okay, fine. Or weekend or whatever it might be. But over time, if you're focusing on that 1%, that it's going to compound. And if you're, and it'll happen naturally, because you're just doing a little bit at a time, and I think that's a way. And I would say, of the people that I've worked with and that I've seen, and I can attest to myself, that I certainly get better that way. Like, if I try to do too much at one time, I can overwhelm myself and actually kind of set myself back. So I have a tendency to, if I notice myself trying to do too much, then I'll kind of scale back, and let that 1% improve over time. And I can look back over my career and other people that I've worked with that have focused on just get a little bit better every day, over the long term, it's going to do you wonders.
I love that concept. And you're right. I think we can try to do all the things at once. And And if you think about the results that it brings, and yeah, we can all do that, right? 1% every day. And guess what? Yeah, if you have a bad day, you have a bad day, you go ahead and like set that day aside and you keep moving. I think
That's right.
that's the way. So I have loved all these tips that you shared. If this is the kind of thing you teach, if this is how you help your clients, this is how you train people in sales, then I'm excited. I'm excited to introduce people to you, Brian, and to recommend you to the people that I know, the business owners I know. So, Brian, I know that you have a workshop coming up, and I'm going to go ahead and put your information here. And I want to just invite you to talk a little bit about the workshop.
Sure. So it's going to be a workshop. It's going to be the second Friday in August. And it's going to be at 12 noon Central Time, so 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And what we're going to focus on is it's going to be a sales training workshop. We're going to pick probably 2, maybe 3 gold nuggets, depending on the amount of time. I think we're going to do about 30 to 45 minutes roughly. And it's going to be an opportunity for those that are interested, particularly in the sales realm, that are looking for ideas, tips, something that may be of benefit to them to help them grow from a sales standpoint. And so and the idea is that in those gold nuggets there actually is different caveats. So you probably get like one or 2 big gold nuggets, maybe 3. And then there'll be some little ones that are kind of associated with it. So it's going to be designed so that anyone that would attend would have the potential to take away one thing, maybe more than one, but at least one that they could utilize in their everyday work and their everyday job from a sales standpoint.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. So it is on Friday, August 11th. If you'd like more information, you can contact Brian here. If you like what Brian is all about, helping you on both sides of your balance sheet, and you'd like to talk to him more, I know he would love to chat with you about that as well. So Brian, thanks for being here on Terilee Talks today. It was an honor to introduce you to my business owner friends and colleagues.
Yeah, thank you, Terilee. Appreciate it.
Yep. You take care. Thank you, Brian. And thank you to everyone else. We'll see you next time at Terilee Talks.
Thank you.